award-winning Dr. Vibe show, but it's not about the Dr. Vibe show this evening. It's about M&M Explores, and it's hosted by a great organization called Men and Masculinity. And throughout our journey, we're just having different men come on, different aspects of manhood. As always, we have new friends coming on. This gentleman I had known from the past, but it's the first time he's on here today. We have Steve Anderson. How you doing today, Steve?
I'm doing fantastic, Dr. Vibes. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
The pleasure is mine. I want to thank Steve Richmond of the Men and Masculinity team for making this happen.
Yes.
So Steve, before we get started on our conversation topic this evening, can you share a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, I can. So currently I'm the head coach with the Canadian National Beach Volleyball team, but I've been to 5 Olympic Games, won a gold medal in 2000 and a bronze medal in 1996 with the Australian team. Worked with over 16 different countries in beach volleyball, which is a story in itself, how I got into beach volleyball. But business owner, I've owned a record label, events company, restaurant, my own personal coaching business, and an author of the Challenge Makes the Champion. So I want to do a revised version of that book because it's kind of what we're going to be talking about tonight. You know, winning in life and the mindset that goes with it, the tools. So a little bit about me. Oh, and I'm a husband and father.
Okay, there you go.
Important thing, right?
Can't forget that.
Yeah, hey, that's the reason why, right? You got to get my why in there.
Exactly. You got to make sure you put that in. So let me ask, out of all those, well, you know what? Certainly I want to ask a little bit about your experience as a volleyball coach. But outside of that, out of all those different arenas, which one did you enjoy or get the most satisfaction from?
You know, it's amazing. I'm 54. I'll be 55, and I feel like I've had at least 5 different lives in different stages. You know, being a young man in California, trying to play pro volleyball myself, and coaching in LA and Australia. Each one had its own attributes that really made life exciting and challenging. And I think that the moment that I'm in right now as a husband and a father, in my 50s, with the time that we have now with technology, what it is, this is an exciting time, and it's an opportunity for me to really get on purpose instead of chasing, that thing that we chase that's going to give us success. I've had enough results, and now I've got to look at my son and the world that I'm leaving for him. So I would say right now it's super exciting for me and what the future holds.
Wonderful. Were you born in California?
I was born in Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky.
Wow. Okay, so we got to really wind back. So Kentucky, how was life in Kentucky?
Well, I was born in 64. So, I grew up in the 70s and 80s in Kentucky. It's a beautiful place. It's the bluegrass, but it was interesting being a young Black man growing up, in Kentucky, and then moving to LA. I moved to LA, I think it was 86, 87, just before my 21st birthday. And it was a culture shock, coming from Kentucky, at that time was just under 1 million people in Louisville, and moving to LA, which at the time was 7 million people, was just incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
What precipitated the move from Kentucky to LA? Because that's obviously quite a change. Was there a reason why?
I wanted to play volleyball.
Okay, so here's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Man of color.
Right.
Where did you get your love of volleyball at such a young age? Where did that come from?
It was really fortunate. I played basketball, football, baseball. I mean, I grew up in Kentucky. My cousin was a professional basketball player, played in Europe and with Meadowlark Lemon and the Buccaneers.
Oh, nice.
So I thought, basketball, football, like real sports, that's what I thought. And when I grew up, volleyball was considered to be a girl sport. That was, it was a really chauvinistic sort of attitude toward it. But I was 14, and my cousins, John L. and Renee, took me to the park to play. And my cousin was there, and the Bunton brothers, who were 7 foot tall pro basketball players, were there playing volleyball and hitting the ball with their fists. And I'm like, this is not a girl sport. It's technical and it's physical. And I fell in love with it. So, we started at Chickasaw Park in Kentucky. And that's where I played for a long time on the concrete courts in the middle of the park.
What?
Concrete courts. And they dove on those concrete courts. I mean, you imagine professional basketball players, they're competitive, and we had other people playing, and it was incredible times.
Wow. So the move from Kentucky to California. Do you remember your first days in Cali?
I remember the first day. I remember the first 2 days like it was yesterday. It was incredible. I moved out there. I had a mentor, a good friend of mine, a guy named Dan Zink, who I worked for and worked with, and I wanted to play volleyball. And I was ignorant. I thought, oh, I'll go out to California and I'll go to college and play volleyball. And, I had 2 years of eligibility. I'm a 5'10" black kid from Kentucky. I'm trying to go to LA and walk on to some team. And I really didn't know, I had no real idea. And I'd seen beach volleyball on TV, and I thought, man, this looks amazing. And so that's, Dan, with his encouragement, I moved out to LA with my brother, and my 2 cousins were out there. And so the first 2 days, the first day, all I wanted to do was see the ocean and see Hollywood.
Makes sense. Most people would. That makes sense.
Yeah, California, right? So I remember driving down PCH, Pacific Coast Highway, on the way from the airport, and we stopped literally on the highway. We moved over, and I'm standing up on, Pacific Coast Highway. And anybody who knows LA, knows that there's the cliff where the highway is. It goes down a long beach, then the water. And I'd never seen the ocean. I'd never been on a beach before. I'd never played beach volleyball before. So I saw the ocean, and it looked like it was just going to roll in and suck us up and take us out. I'd never seen anything that big in my life. And, that was my welcome to LA. And then we went straight to Hollywood. And that was, 1986 in Hollywood. That was, 20 years old, 21 years old. That was incredible. So
that's quite an experience.
It was amazing. It was a culture shock because it wasn't Kentucky.
Absolutely. Now, did you continue to get deeper into the area of volleyball while you were out there?
The second day, I went to Santa Monica Pier. Actually, we went on the first day. We stopped on the way to Hollywood. We stopped at Venice Beach, and we stopped at the Santa Monica Pier. And I kind of just watched a little bit to see how the system worked. And then I came back the next day on my own, and that was my first game of beach volleyball. It didn't go smooth, Actually, I didn't go back for a year. It put me off so much.
Wow.
Yeah, I was trying to get a game, and nobody would play, and I couldn't figure out why. Because in Kentucky, we're just so welcoming, and I didn't know I was supposed to start at the opposite end of the beach and work my way up. So I'm trying to play on the pro court, and nobody would play with me. And I'd ask everyone around, and I finally came to a group of guys and said, "Hey guys, I got the next game. Would somebody like to play?" And this guy looked up to me and said, "Hey bro, the basketball courts are that way." And he's pointing toward Venice Beach, so I almost lost it, except, bro, but I did have my Michael Jordan jersey on, to be fair. So
there you go. Did you ever play volleyball with a Michael Jordan jersey on?
Michael Jordan's probably not the jersey you want to wear if you're going to play volleyball. Something that's volleyball related, maybe. But it was funny. A girl who was there, I saw her play earlier. She said, "Yeah, let's play." And her boyfriend was holding the court. And I hadn't played beach. I had never been on the beach before, that day before. So I know I couldn't jump out of the sand. I had a 42-inch standing vertical, but I didn't know how to jump out of the sand. And when I was warming up, I realized I couldn't hit. I couldn't use my jump because I didn't know the technique. And, she started to panic a little bit because she's, put herself out there. And I started to really panic. But she said, "Look, you don't have to jump high and hit everything. Just, ball control." And so we played, and we lost 16-14, and people sat around and watched us play. And it was an incredible experience, and I fell in love with it. It was really
Nice.
cool and hard, and yeah, it was a challenge. So it was something I wanted to do.
So then, how did you end up from Cali to Toronto now? We're just following your journey, so to speak.
Yeah. So I ended up playing beach volleyball. I was a part time pro member of the AVP, which is Association of Volleyball Professionals, for 4 years. I never really took it seriously. You know, it was a lifestyle. And about 4 years into it, I decided this is what I want to do. And I quit my sales job. I was in sales and marketing, and I started coaching because a friend of mine played on the Women's Pro Tour, asked me to coach her. And I thought, I'll coach, I'll make some money, and then I'll be able to train. And by the end of the year, I had 13 clients, and half of those were on the Pro Women's Tour. And I was a coach.
Wonderful. Before we go
Yes.
any further, just want to say on the Get Vocal platform, want to welcome Big Bad Brad and Andy. Thank you so much for watching live. Please feel free to share comments. We also have viewers on YouTube and Facebook. Please put your comments in. We'll share if you're on the Get Vocal platform. There are spaces open, so if you have any questions for Steve, he'd be more than happy to address them. And then let's finally get, how did you get involved in an Olympic capacity in regards to volleyball?
Right. So I started coaching in 1990 on the Women's Pro Tour. It was called the WPBA. It doesn't exist anymore. In California, coached there for 5 years, and I was still dabbling in playing. And I had an Australian buddy of mine who was the number one player on the Australian tour asked me to go play. And in my ignorance, I'm like, Australia? I'm not going out. Where's Australia at? You know, had no idea. And so I passed on it. And then later on, I regretted it. And I said, if I get a chance to go to Australia for volleyball again, I'm going. So in 1995, Natalie Cook and Kerry Pothurst, Australian women's beach volleyball team, came to LA looking for a coach. And I took the job and moved,
Wonderful.
fulfilled on that promise.
I'm going to stop with some of your journey there and now start applying the challenges part.
That's right.
The theme of our conversation tonight is who are we when challenges show up, especially from a male perspective. And going back to when you were right young, the challenges of moving from Kentucky to Los Angeles, that
Right.
wasn't an easy challenge.
Well, growing up black in Kentucky in the 60s, 70s, 80s was a challenge enough. You know, and not just because of racism or anything else, but my own internal battles. You know, my concept of in the 80s, when I was growing up, 70s and 80s, was for success in business, which is something I wanted to do, was Caucasian male. This was my own, something I had created for myself, you know, through the media and whatever else. And I looked at myself, I'm like, I can't be Caucasian male. So it created an identity conflict with me. And I think this happens to a lot of people. I just happen to be an American black male, but I think it happens with women. I think it happens with, you know, white males and whoever. We all have our challenges, and most of them we create through our own beliefs and values and experiences. So the one I created was that I needed to be something other than myself. And now I've entered this arena where, you know, volleyball is like tennis and golf. It was primarily a Caucasian sport when I entered. And so there wasn't really models of, you know, black men that I could look to and say, oh, that's how I'm supposed to be. This is what this looks like in this arena. So I had all my internal battles I had to deal with. And that's why I love sport. It's an amazing opportunity to learn about yourself and other people. And it's not as you know, with life, you mess up in life, you're done. You know, it hurts. You mess up in sport, you learn your lesson, you know, your ego takes a little bit of a bruising and you get on with it, right? So you can apply all those lessons to life. But yeah, the challenge is what makes the champion, that's for sure.
Absolutely. I can somewhat relate to where you're coming from. I played a little bit of sports myself, but I refereed
Mm-hmm.
more than I played. And I found that I learned so much about life as a man growing up, evolution of man, because when you're refereeing, you have to be paying attention at all times.
That's right.
You not only have to have your own control of yourself, but you're also somewhat in control of not only on the players on the field of play, but the ones on the bench, and to a certain extent, the audience also.
Right. Yeah, people take refereeing for granted, but anytime you're in a position of leadership where you have influence over people and the environment, there's a huge responsibility. And especially the higher up the level you go, the perception is there's more and more responsibility. So you have to be skilled and trained and fit. There's all these things you have to do to get performance under pressure. So I don't care if you're picking up sticks. If you are doing it to do it for excellence, you have to be skilled and you have to be composed under pressure. And that helps you be, helps you with your character and who you're going to be in all your relationships and, the situations in life. So you can choose anything as long as you apply yourself. It's going to help you be a better person, right? Especially a better man with leadership and, performance.
Yeah, I always, and I did a little bit of coaching. I will tell you, I actually ran a volleyball league many years ago when I had hair at Scarborough College, a summer volleyball league.
Okay, got it.
So, uh, if I remember any of the names, there was a referee back in that time named Larry Law.
Larry Law. Okay.
And there were some other gentlemen, but that's here in circumstance, not really of importance. But and that's the thing I also learned in regards to refereeing and also coaching. I also shared with a lot of players is that there are a lot of lessons that you learn in the sports arena that are just the same as everyday life.
That's right. Excellence is excellence. Performance is performance. So, like I say, been blessed to use something like sport as a learning ground to be able to learn those lessons and then bring them into, every day. And being a father now, especially, it's, yeah, I'm grateful that I've been able to do this.
Excellent. Well, you wanted to chat about the topic, our conversation topic tonight, winning in life. Who are we when the challenges show up?
That's right.
Give me some background on why you wanted to chat about this topic this evening.
So I have this paradigm for winning that I use for myself. And, I've got a long story of trying to play professionally myself and, all this self-imposed pressure. I thought I represented all Black people in the world when I played volleyball because,
wow,
again, I was one of the only Black men there. Ken Harrison and myself, 1989, I think, we played in the Manhattan Open. We're too afraid to go in the players area because we were the only Black men in the tournament at that time. And I made up all these stories about who I was and what people expected of me and what success was, and we can call it winning. So, growing up in America, my paradigm for winning was, there's the winner and then there's everybody else. First loser, second loser, third loser. I mean, it's you win or you, and especially, being in California during that time is, very competitive for everything. So that's the paradigm that I had. Either I'm winning or I'm failing.
Right.
Now, when you're going for the Olympics, and a lot of people approach the Olympics this way, this I'm winning or I'm failing sort of attitude. First of all, I think it totally disrespects the opportunity for growth and the fact that all the investment you do to become the best in the world at what you do. And then we show up with this attitude that if I don't get this prize, then this whole journey of mine was wasted or failure or not worth it, or, it's not everybody's going to get the gold medal or the silver medal, the bronze medal. Now you're done. That's all the medals. And a lot of Olympians. So I had to change my paradigm. And what I realized is if this is about me and my personal growth, then it's not about me competing with you for this one prize. If I win the gold medal, it's because I'm a gold medalist. I prepared myself. The opportunity is there for me to show up. And that's the result. It's just the byproduct of who I've built myself and my team, who we've built ourselves to be. You get the silver, you're a silver medalist. So that's just what that is. Now I need another champion to really test myself. If I'm trying to get the best of me out, and I do that through any type of performance, we chose sport, then I need another champion like you to challenge me so that I can see myself under pressure. So this is in this way, we're both going to win. You're going to see yourself as the champion you are. I'm going to see myself as the champion I am. And most people never really get to see themselves under extreme pressure when they say it matters. When they say it matters. You know, we live our lives in a way, oftentimes we have a few occasions where we have to really, really step up. But I find myself doing it where I'm kind of cruising through life because I'm comfortable and I'm not really pushing myself to grow and be my best, person. So, you know, we use these games and we use business and we use our family and we use all these things to push and drive ourselves to help ourselves be the best that we can be. So my new paradigm of winning is that everyone wins. Everyone's a champion in their own personal life because you get what you need. And it's not everybody gets a trophy. You got to have something on the line. You got to be going for something that you say matters. And I think that's what the trophies represent. It's a real commitment to striving for something and being vulnerable and putting yourself on the line instead of just saying, I'm going to do my best. No, I'm not going to do my best. I'm declaring that I'm going to be the gold medalist and I'm going to prepare for it. And then I'm going to go there and I'm going to do everything I can to achieve that. And then I'll see the truth about me at the end of this journey. And I'll know myself better. And I'll be able to use this whole journey for my personal growth and be able to apply it to the other areas of my life. So that's the paradigm that I like, for winning and how are we winning in life.
Excellent. Just before we go on, a number of things have happened since our sharing here.
Yeah.
I'd like to shout out to Roden, I'd like to shout out to Lee, and also to Ms. Deborah. Thanks so much for joining the conversation live. Also, Tony Davis is saying what Steve is talking about is the difference between sincerity and genuineness and humility versus being an egotistical jerk.
That's right. And we do things, and I think as a young person, I know I did this myself. My dad was killed when I was 9 years old. And
my condolences, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I used to really not just mourn it. I used to really use his death as an excuse not to aspire to anything or really try to excel. And the story I made up for myself, because remember, my dad died when I was 9. He wasn't there. I didn't experience him after that. So anything after that, I made up. And I think human beings, we do this all the time. We say what the truth is, even though it's not real, but it's real to us. And my truth at that time, my story was, I don't know how to be a man because my dad wasn't here to teach me. And I lived that to 27. So when I got close to success, I would sabotage because this 9-year-old story was running. And I had this desire to prove myself in the world that came from lack. I don't think that's a bad thing. People have life experiences and they help shape us and they help motivate us to do things. And now I celebrate my father. I celebrate the time I had with him. I celebrate the ideas I have about him, but I also use that experience to help other young people live their dreams. And I'm not talking about positive thinking or fantasizing, but how are you going to plan, resource yourself with skills, tools, relationships, mindset to contribute your gifts in the world and live on purpose instead of feeling victimized and like, oh, I have to live this life that's given to me, because I don't have any power. I don't believe that. I think that, through, intelligence and hard work and choosing, which is to me is a God gift, the fact that human beings can choose. No matter what our circumstances or our nature, we can choose.
So I want to ask you, what and when did you change into this paradigm? Because you didn't always have this paradigm.
No, I did not.
So what caused you to shift into this paradigm?
It was the gold medal. So we go back a little bit. So with the Australian team in 1996, I started working with, like I said, Natalie Cook and Kerry Pothurst, and we won a bronze medal at the Atlanta Olympics in beach volleyball, which was an impossible task. It was the Americans had three teams, the Brazilian had two. That's five teams with three medals. They were the best teams in the world. And there were other really good teams, so it was impossible. But we won a bronze medal, and it was a lot of ego and trying to achieve versus contribution and trying to be fulfilled, and it was a lot of ego involved. But 2000, we did the journey again, and we won a gold medal, and it was incredible. And about 2 weeks later, I didn't know what to do.
Mm.
It. I call it the promise. There's this like silent promise that when I achieved this thing, which was supposed to be a lifetime dream, I don't know that I ever, I don't know that I thought I was going to ever achieve it, because it's such a hard thing to do, to win an Olympic gold medal. And here I started at 21, 5'10" black guy from Kentucky. How am I going to win a gold medal? Be part of a gold medal team. It was an impossible thing. And now we have the gold medal. The thing is achieved. And the silent promise was that once I do something spectacular, something amazing, I will be worthy. And we achieved this thing, and I didn't feel any more worthy.
Mm.
I felt accomplished, not worthy.
No, and we're on the M&M Explores journey here, and I think you probably encountered a number of men who you think they've achieved a great achievement,
Yeah.
but there is something missing.
My idea of winning was, part of it was this external validation that through achievement, through success, and doing something at that level was, part of how I define success. Other people said, hey, you're successful, pat you on the back. And but this hole that I had, it wasn't ever going to be filled by anything external. It's my self-worth, my self-love, my identity. I was in charge of that. I'm the only one that can really choose who I am in the world. And it's not always conscious. It's through my actions and my words and my beliefs and values and the way I live my life. And, so that
So how did,
was
let me just interrupt you. So how did you start changing Steve?
mm-hmm. Well, first I hit rock bottom. So I was in a great marriage with a beautiful woman. Um, we got divorced. We won the gold medal 2000, got divorced 2001. Like I
Wow.
really had an empty feeling, and I wasn't doing all the things that I needed to do as a husband. And my wife was understanding, but I was running away. I didn't have commitment and responsibility, and I had this hole that I was trying to fill. So it took me about 5 years of really like punishing myself.
Mm.
I say I'm
Mm.
trying to kill my life. I didn't ever think about killing me, but anything that I had done that looked like success, anything, that looked like love, I pushed it away. And I indulged in it for about 5 years. And I had great friends around me, and I was able to come out of that. And part of it was just dealing with the fact that, hey, I'm a man. You got to grow up, you know? And I had to grow up and just take responsibility for my life and who was I going to be in life.
So what got you through those 5 years?
I think it was great friends, and a burning desire. I mean, I always knew since I was a kid that, I was put here for a reason. I want to help people. The way my life, turned out, lots of people, especially men. I've got some amazing mentors and, just men who modeled success and love for me. And my mother, who just passed away last year, was just incredible.
Condolences, sir. Condolences.
Yeah. So she raised 30 kids. She only gave birth to two.
Wow.
Yeah. He raised a bunch of kids for other people and helped out people who were in trouble. And I saw love modeled, you know? So I I wasn't able to just check out of life because, I had all these great people around me. And I know I had a responsibility. So I just had to man up and,
Okay.
step up to responsibility, which is something that I didn't do.
Well, we have Mr. Tony Davis
Yeah,
on
hey,
screen.
Dr. Bob.
Hey, Tony.
Tony, how
Hey,
are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Steve, I had a quick question for you, and I listened to your whole story here, and I really admire your story. And the question is, you've already talked about this a little bit. I was wanting to talk about resistance.
Hmm.
As far as you've talked about the resistance of how you dealt with your own personal resistance. Now,
Right.
what about resistance from others?
That's
As far as no, we're going to hold you back, or no, we don't quite understand where you're going, or we're just being a little bit overprotective, or just
right.
resistance in general.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that, Tony. Man, you hit a bunch of them all in one sentence, there, man. So, holding you back, trying to be overprotective. I mean, it took me a long time to just appreciate people for who they are and where they are.
Hmm.
And, so myself personally, I had to go through just accepting life as it is. So, a word surrender, for example, man, did I hate the word surrender.
Oh, that's not a good
You know,
word for a lot of guys,
it's
man.
not a good word, right? So, when I was told that I have to surrender and to life, like accept life as it is and not try to impose my will on life, that was not a concept that I wanted to deal with. So I had all this resistance to how life really was, and I wanted life to be the way I wanted it to be, and I'm trying to impose my will on it and others, and that's just not the way it works. It's like trying to impose your will on the ocean.
Yep.
I use words like surrender and being very clear what surrender means. And surrender is just being real with myself about what's real and not offering any resistance. So even if I don't agree with it, I'm going to look at it from a neutral place and really try to see the merit in it and not from my perspective. So empathy plays a big part in it. And someone gave me some really good advice. They said, don't believe your own press because when you succeed, people will tell you how great you are. Your head blows up, your ego takes over. You're gonna implode, and people don't know you. They're gonna criticize you when you're successful. They're gonna criticize you when you're not. They don't know you personally. You don't know what their deal is, so just let them have it. And that's I've been very fortunate to. There you go. I've been very fortunate to experience that, and my mother was a big part in that. After my father died, she showed me like unconditional love to other people, especially the men who caused his death. And I didn't like it, but man, I saw the power of it. So I know that no matter what anybody else does, I get to choose what it means. So if they treat me poorly, I don't know anything about them. I don't know their background, I don't know their story. I can make it up, I can make it personal, or I could just make it about them doing what they need to do. I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to take it, but I don't have to give it power. And that's what the resistance does for me is it gives whatever they're trying to do. I'm wasting my energy and time fighting them instead of being focused on what I need to be focused on. So I just get right back to them, let them have it, keep myself and my family safe. And I know I'm on purpose, what my purpose is, and I just focus on that.
Okay.
Tony, anything else you want to add
Uh,
on?
well, mostly the reason I was asking that question is because I heard what you were saying, Steve, and I heard hearing how you went through a lot of self resistance, and I go through a lot of
Right.
myself because of my of the way that I am, and you're your own worst critic. It's basically what it
Right.
is. You're your own worst critic, and sometimes you have to slap yourself in the back of the head in order to get yourself to listen.
Yes, sir.
And
Yep.
it's say, look, things can be better. Things deserve to be better. You should fight to make them better.
Mm,
And I still fight with a lot of my own personal resistance, but there's a lot of resistance in my life personally because I have a lot of health problems. I have a lot of family issues, and everything else. To the point that dealing with my family, dealing with myself, dealing with my social circles, dealing with everybody I know, they're kind of like dealing like this.
right.
I get a lot of resistance,
I heard you.
and
I heard
it's kind of like I just want things to be better. Things,
you.
um, and uh,
Mm,
and I have a dream, and I want to see it get done. And
mm.
with this resistance, it's not getting done.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of the position I'm at in my
I
life.
heard you.
So
I heard you, man. I feel for you.
one step I took was taking the initiative 3 years ago to really take control of my health. I have a lot of health problems. Like I said, I have type 1 diabetes and cerebral palsy, slight cerebral palsy, and have a lot of
Okay.
complications because of both of them. And it scared me to death when I had a heart problem and
Right.
had a large heart, and it scared me to death to the point that I
Mm,
was like, yeah, if I don't do something, I'm going to die, and I won't be
yeah.
able to do what God wants me to do. So
Yeah.
I really started taking initiative. A friend started taking me out uh, bike riding, which for me it's a tricycle because of my health problems.
Okay.
I started walking around. Back in May, I did a 5K walk.
Wow.
Something something I probably would have never done like 5 years ago. I would
Yeah.
never imagine myself doing that kind of thing. I uh, I work out, I exercise, I try my best to keep myself as healthy as I can. Um, and that's been a great step to
Yeah.
overcome a lot of resistance. But still, there's
Mm,
a resistance thing there.
yeah.
All
I hear
right.
you. I hear
So,
you, Tony.
Brad, we're going to move on, Tony.
So
So,
so anyway,
thank
let me hop off, and it was good talking to you,
It
and
was good talking with you too, Tony. Thank you.
my
Appreciate that.
wanted to hop into. So
Okay, thanks, Tony.
All right.
Uh,
Thanks, Tony.
One of the things in regards to challenges,
Yeah.
Steve, that many men I feel are given the wrong thought process when it
Mm.
comes to challenges. Would you agree with me on that?
Well, yeah. I mean, who teaches us to be men anymore? I mean, if you want to do a job well, if you have a hobby, something that you really are passionate about, you seek out education, mentors, coaches, people, role models, all that sort of stuff. We think we're just supposed to be born men. We're supposed to just grow into it. And I think that, there was more of older men mentoring younger men, modeling what manhood was. There was more commitment and loyalty, community. And now with technology and the fact that people have moved away from, their homes and all that sort of stuff, our communities are, fractured, and we just don't work with each other to be healthy men. And then with the media and everything else, we have this idea about what masculinity is supposed to look like and who we're supposed to be in men, as men. And there's nobody, helping each other or teaching. you know? And then we try to treat it like the truth. you know?
So in that realm, what has happened to intergenerational learning amongst men?
It's a great question. I know for a fact that, when I was in Kentucky, there was a community and people used to drop by your house. They still do. They still drop by your house. You go over people's houses. You do activities together. Now, it's changed from my father being part of club meetings and different organizations and doing charity work and Red Cross and all that community stuff. Maybe it's more self-focused now. But I know when I moved out to LA, I didn't have a sense of community. I lived in Australia. We got some of that back, but those people only knew me as an adult. I didn't have childhood friends there. People who knew me as Knucklehead Steve, little, little Knucklehead kid. Nobody, So, and
Would love to see some of those pictures, Knucklehead Steve,
not
when you're
today,
at
not today. But, so I think there's something about being around the community and the people that you grew up with and that sort of thing. And now here I am, my family, we live in Canada. My wife's from New Zealand. My son was born in Australia and we live in Canada.
Wow.
So where is that real sense of community? You can try to create it as an adult, but there's something about that bonding that happens with those school friends, those, your family, where maybe in that environment, we think it's okay to, take advice or model someone. But now I think we're just trying to, present ourselves as grown people.
Right.
It's hard to take advice. It's hard to ask for help, you know?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you are part of a men's group, correct?
I am part of a men's group, yes.
So tell us why you became part of a men's group and how has it helped you in regards to the way you handle challenges as a man.
Yeah, well, I live on an island. If you let me, I will go in my cave and be on an island, try to do it all myself. I would say I've been in the men's group since 2013. So for about the first 2.5 years, and the men in my team would probably say even longer, I really resisted and struggled with being with men, the group of men. I didn't trust men. Like I say, when there's pressures,
Why? Why didn't you trust men?
because competition.
Okay.
Men compete. We compete with each other. We compete
The challenge thing.
everything, right? So, we compete with each other for partners, for jobs or wealth. We compete with each other for status and recognition. This is a healthy thing to get us, from sitting down and get out and do stuff and achieve stuff and create things. But we don't see it as an opportunity to help sharpen each other and to help grow each other in community. Now it's real war. Like, want the worst for other men. So it's and because it's, there can only be one. It's me or you. So this is it's just a horrible, horrible environment. And then we have, people get abused. There's so much pain and anger. And, men used to go off and fight battles and stuff or hunt or do whatever what they did in groups. They worked in community. They came back. They, with each other, they were able to prepare men to be with their families. Like, you don't come back from a battle and just go right, back to see your wife and your child. You got to get all that stuff out of you and vent all that stuff and be with other people who share the same sort of experiences. And we don't do that anymore. And we don't go off and do those sort of things anymore. Not that I would choose for us to go off and be doing battles, but that whole thing that bonded us, we just compete with each other now. And we brought the war home. We brought it home to our families. And we brought that internal conflict. We deal with it by ourselves now. It's a sign of weakness to do anything else.
The first few years when you were in a men's group, you were an island. What brought you to the mainland or the manland? Let's put it that way.
Manland, I like that. That's awesome. Well, when I do come to the mainland, and that's one of the reasons why I stay. I've tried to quit more times, and out of arrogance and ego, and no man's gonna tell me this or that, but I know without it, man, wow. I'll just start making stuff up. I'll be on my little island. And I just start to implode, because if I can't ask for help, if I can't even just talk to someone about something that, is personal and is vulnerable. And this is the problem. We can't be vulnerable with each other because we use it against each other because we're in competition. It's really, really difficult to want the best for someone else. You know, Marianne Williamson said it in her poem that, you know, Nelson Mandela used in his inaugural speech. You know, it's our brightness that scares us. And we don't shine bright around other people, because when they see us shining brightly, they want to cut our legs out from under other, you know, cut our legs out from under us, because it's like a mirror showing them their weaknesses and their you know, being small, and like with me, not being worthy. That's what, when you see someone succeeding, we tend to see lack in ourselves instead of seeing possibility, which is what I think is meant for. And if we can see each other as possibility, then all we do is help build each other and grow, and we can be in community. But as long as we see it as competition, like real competition, and as long as we see it as some sort of personal insult, then what choice do we have but to, you know, cut each other's legs off, criticize, hate, resent, hate ourselves? I mean, it's the only choice you have.
There you go. Well, just want to welcome someone who just joined in, a gentleman that I think you and I know, some guy named Steve Richmond.
Mr. Richmond.
So he's just happened to just show up in a few moments ago. So welcome, Mr. Richmond. And I maybe you didn't get to it, but how has the mentor helped you with your handling challenges?
Well, Steve Richmond is on my team and has been on a few different teams with me. So like I said before, he would definitely be able to tell you distance to being in a group of men, trusting men. So I know that with my group of men, no matter what we're struggling with, I can trust these men. So if I have a challenge in life, I have no issue with bringing my vulnerability to my team, because we have an agreement. And part of that agreement is not to judge each other. You know, we don't give advice to each other unless it's asked for. You know, we're there to help that man be the man that he wants to be. And Steve Richmond's a very committed man in that journey. So it's, you know, it's a privilege to have him on here as well, because, you know, I know this is part of his purpose. He's very committed to helping other men get the opportunity to have men around them where it's not competitive. And, you know, there's always this conflict because we're men, but I know that no matter what happens, anything I say with those men, anything that they know about me stays confidential. And I don't know where else I get that.
So let me ask you an interesting question. Give us a recent challenge that you've had to face, and how would you have handled it before being part of a men's group compared to handling it now?
Well, now I'm going to be I'm not going to give you I'm not going to be the sort of vulnerable I am with my team.
No problem.
Because we don't have that trust. We don't have an agreement. We don't have an agreement.
And Mr. Richmond's here to watch you now.
Right. I see him there. But I tell you, going all the way back to when I joined the men's team, which was really interesting. My wife, married now, we weren't married at the time. There's a woman who trusted me enough to move from Australia, and she's from New Zealand, halfway around the world to Canada, with at the time a 4-year-old boy. And before I joined this organization and went through the things that I did, like being faced with being real with myself, I wasn't committed. I wasn't committed to being a husband. And I don't know how much thought I really gave to being a father. Now, I'm not saying I didn't think about it, but I thought about it in the way that I always thought about it, from my perspective first. And, you know, how does this work for me? And it was all about me. And one of the things that I learned being part of a men's group is it's not about me. It's not about me. You know, when you look at legacy, we talk about legacy. We don't use that word, but it really is about contribution. You know, what am I building for this young man? He'll be 11 years old next month. We've been here almost 7 years in Canada. He'll be 11. I'll be 55.
Mm.
My father died when I was 9.
Mm.
And that's the thing that kept me from having children. Fear. This thing that kept me from having children. Would I be here? What if something happens to me and I leave this young man by himself? So even that indulgence I can't have,
Right.
because that prevents me from being all that I can be for him. Now, the fear. So this is the sort of stuff that being part of a men's team, I've just got to get real about, and I got to face. And I think Steve Richmond was there, and he might have been. There was another man who asked me, did not want to be there for my family.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never
I
really.
do.
I just took for granted that I'm here. You know, I just took it for granted, but I'd never asked myself the question, you know, am I really committed, like, to be here for them first, not myself first, and how do I fit in? How do they fit into my life? You know, so there's been a lot of those sort of moments. Richmond, to tell you, a lot of those moments where it's like, you know, what you're saying right now is BS. You believe your own BS. You need to get over it. Take a real good look at it. And yeah, that's priceless. You can't buy that, man.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate. There's a lot of men out there that they just think showing up is all they need to do.
That's right. And that's
I had put in a question a while ago when you were talking about your purpose, and I guess Dr. Vibe didn't get it or didn't see it. What challenges did you face when you were trying to discover your purpose?
so, you know, I've done a lot of self-development, a lot of study, and you know, that added to my arrogance. I think I know what I'm talking about. And I've known purpose, and I've known of purpose for a long time, but I can't say that I ever really did any direct work on it. And I think I had life missions confused with purpose. So I had lots of missions. I didn't really understand the underlying thing that was me. So higher purpose, you know, I really feel like I understand what my higher purpose is. How I choose to express that in the world, you know, changes. And then also other purposes, like being, you know, a role model for my son.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're standing in a group of men and you're talking about this sort of stuff, like, another man could be having a conversation about his life, and it has me take a look at mine. So having these sort of conversations and having a group of men who are committed to dealing with this stuff and not just showing up and just whatever comes out, comes out. No, deliberate. How deliberate am I going to be? And, yeah, so and it's a constant process. So just getting clear on purpose and what my purpose is now, who I am as a husband, a provider, who I am as a father, role model for my son, an example, not what I say, what I do. You know, those are things that I've had to be
I'm
committed
going to
to.
add to that, because one of the things that I challenge, I do, one of the things I do is I facilitate a course on parenting for fathers, and one of the exercises we have is I ask the fathers to write down all the different hats that you wear,
Mm-hmm.
and to
Yeah.
prioritize those different hats that you wear, and what are the challenges with each one of the hats that you put on. When you put on that hat, whether it's a father, whether it's an employee, whether it's a business owner, whether it's a leader of a men's group, all those different hats and the different challenges that you have. And I think it's good for men and fathers to write all that down, to actually take a look at that and do that periodically at the different hats that you wear, and make sure that when you put on that hat, you know the challenges that you're facing, and are you willing to go into that challenge when that hat's on.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting too, because I think in the past, I just labeled things. So, you know, I'm a husband, I'm a father. Like, I really label things, and what you're describing is digging into that. Okay, what is a father? Who am I as a father? And again, this is one of the things that, like, this stuff you don't discover on yourself. like by yourself. This is one of the other things about being part of a men's team. And I learned this about myself with my son. There are things that my son's not going to learn from me. He can't learn them from me. We have a certain relationship. He needs to learn this from a mentor. He needs to learn this from a peer. He's going to learn this from an uncle. He's not going to accept this lesson from dad. And it's the same thing for me. There's certain things that are just blind to me that I'm not going to be able to uncover by myself. And so, ripping into those layers of who am I as a father, who am I as a husband, and then, having people who care about you, who aren't going to buy you bull, to help me see things that I just resist and refuse to see, like Tony was saying.
So are you talking about Steve Richmond there?
Oh,
Steve doesn't go for much BS.
No, he don't.
Right? You don't go for. You need people in your life who just be real with you and not criticize and judge you, right? But just be real.
Cool.
Yeah.
Steve,
Yeah.
want to add anything else, Steve?
Oh, I was just going to say, and what Steve's saying is so true. Like, we've all done a particular men's weekend, but having men in your life that you can count on to call you on your crap, because, the struggles he's gone through, I've learned how I show up as a father. And, there's that Tom Mack fellow. Look out. And there's another man, I highly respect this man and all the work he's done all these years. And, the one joy of having men in your life is I hadn't seen Mac in 15 years. I met him in Massachusetts a couple of years ago, and we picked up like it was yesterday.
Mm.
Go ahead, Mr. Mac.
Hey, Tom Mack, how you doing?
How you doing, Dr. Bob?
Outstanding. How are you and the family doing?
Good. We've had some challenges this summer. My brother got very ill, and I've been.
For some reason, your volume is really low.
I've never been accused of that.
That is true.
Okay, that is better.
Yes.
Hold on a minute. How's that?
It's good.
A little better. It was for a few seconds. It was good, and then
I think we're good now.
There you go.
okay.
All right. I was just checking in. I was just really when I saw Richmond and what's your name?
Steve Anderson. Yes.
Anderson. It's really great to meet you, and you're a byproduct of a man who lives a higher purpose.
Yeah. I appreciate that. And that's what I understand about you as well. So, yeah.
When I think I really don't have much to say except that's how we keep the legacy, and that's how we help each other find that purpose in life. And I didn't know anything about higher purpose when I did my weekend. I was just so self-centered. It was all about me.
Yeah.
And when I joined the men's team, when I started volunteering for things, I just started noticing that I wanted to start helping people more, and I still didn't know why, And it took a long time of volunteering. It's just it unintellectually felt right.
Right.
And I felt like I was finally at home, and that's why I can have a relationship. Even with Dr. Vibe, I feel like I halfway know him by now, but and I've only been on the set with him maybe 4 or 5 times. But I see Richmond there, and we can go 15 years and see each other tomorrow, and it's picked right up where we left off, And
That's what I want for my son. I want him to be able to be with other men, have a community, and be with men who want the best for him. And Tommy Mac, you said something that really, kind of hit me is, as men, where do we go to to get that purpose. I think men think that they're supposed to know their purpose, or they're gonna, intellectually get it or whatever. And what I've discovered is when you start doing something that's not just survival and looking after yourself, things start to open up. When you start to contribute, help, be about something that's more than just self, then purpose starts to become clear. Opportunities, people come into your life, and it actually gets defined. It's not like some intellectual thing, oh, that's my purpose, and now I'm going to do that. You get on the journey, you start doing things, especially doing for others, making a contribution, and then you start to define and build yourself and purpose. You're living purpose. And it's like a more of an intuitive thing than an intellectual thing. So that's one of the things that I've noticed about the Olympic journey is you can think it's going to be a certain way, but once you start it and once you start taking action toward your commitment, it defines you, not the other way around. So
but I will add to that purpose brings clarity. And you said, though, that it's a very important word in regards to when you're a man of purpose, you start to get clarity, and it's a good place to be when you have clarity.
Yeah, but you're not going to get clarity or purpose sitting around doing nothing.
No, not at all.
About surviving life.
So you gotta chase it down, or as using one of your analogies, you gotta set it and spike it.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, what's really interesting is I attended a school board meeting last night, and they spent over an hour of this marathon meeting. I had to get home because I get up at 4:45 to run with my son every day, and okay. I was at this meeting, and they were talking about goals that they want to achieve as a board, and they went round and round and round and round, and it was very clear to me that they were confused because all they want to do is look at their goals, and we do what you call CPR, as you very well know. And the one word that I did not hear tonight is the big one. It's the context. It's the why. The purpose is great, but there's something bigger than the purpose, and it's the why. And it's like they were really missing out on that last night. They don't have list your results, and then define your purpose, and then why. Why are we doing all this?
Yeah.
To make our community educated, or something that has very few words and is very powerful.
Yeah,
you can have purpose, but if you don't have context, you don't have much purpose either. So
that's right. I agree with that.
You have to have that why. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And you always have to stay connected, because that's the gut check part. There's days I get up that I really don't want to do something, but my commitment and my CPR, the results I want in my life, and I have my purpose, but I don't want to do this today. And then I get connected to, well, why? Why? Because I said I was going to do it, and this is what I want in my life. So I just wanted to throw that word context out there.
Yeah, thanks for that, man. Appreciate that.
Steve, anything you want to add?
And I want to thank you for answering the purpose question, because you got to it without realizing it, I think. But I find, and I'm sure you see it with some of the younger men in our circles, they're coming up with these grandiose purposes, but they don't really know how to get there. And you answered it very succinctly in how just starting on the journey defines the purpose. So thanks.
Wonderful.
Richmond, were you his sponsor? Were you Steve's sponsor?
No, I just have a pair of footwear up his butt a lot. That's all.
He's my teammate. My sponsor was Baloo.
Well, you do return the favor once in a while, don't you, Steve?
Oh yeah, he needs a big foot, right? He needs a big foot.
Well, before this goes off the rails, we're gonna start winding it down here.
Richmond,
I just oh God. Well, I'd like to thank first of all, Steve. Thanks, Mr. Anderson. Thank you so much for taking time out of your positive, productive schedule to share with us another great epic conversation on M&M Explores. If people want to get in touch with you, Steve, how can they do that?
Well, they can email me. I've got a website that's being constructed, but they can email me at steveanderson.gold at gmail.com. Once the website is up, then they'll be able to contact me through that. Steve Anderson Steve Anderson Gold will be the website. That's Challenge Makes the Champion. I haven't released this yet, even though it's been out for a while, because I want to revise it. And because I think there's more to the story, because it's an everyday thing, right? How we live lives and how we show up as champions doesn't just affect us in our lives, but there's a legacy. So what are we doing for the generations to come? And my message would be, and what I'm trying to do for myself, is the challenges in life are the opportunities for us to grow and build ourselves into the champions we need to be for our purpose. So,
Hey, Steve, just real quick, do you mind sharing your phone number? I'd like to call you.
yep, I can share that.
Go ahead.
Get ready, everyone's gonna get it.
Mac, I'll do that through Richmond personally. I'm not gonna write here, but I'll do that through Richmond, because he can get in contact with you, right?
Hey, Richmond, can you call me after? Can you call me right after this?
I
Give
can.
me 20 minutes. I gotta talk to Mr. Spellman.
You got my.
Okay.
You got
Dr.
my.
Vibe?
You got my number, right?
Tom, I can email it to you if you want.
All right.
That would be awesome.
Okay, fantastic.
Cool.
So we'll just say thanks to everybody here. Tom Mack, Steve Richmond, also Kinte has jumped in, Donald, Terry from the Men and Masculinity Core team, Ms. Deborah, as always, and people are jumping in like crazy now, and we're on our way out. But that's a to go. But hey, no problem. That's why we have replays. Big Bad Brad. We had Tony on. We had Mr. Roden, who I heard of. I don't know if we've actually spoken, but I know I'm going to be speaking to soon. A number of other people on Facebook and on YouTube. I'd like to say thank you so much. What you need to do after this is go to the Men and Masculinity website, menandmasculinity.com. Catch out epic replays of great conversations we've had on M&M Explores. We're going to be having some more next month. Or if you want, subscribe to us on Get Vocal, subscribe to us on YouTube, subscribe to the Facebook page, and you'll be kept up to date on everything. I'd like to say thanks for everyone who joined in live on the replay, and we'll catch you soon. God bless, peace be well, and keep the faith. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thanks, Dr.